Welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone has had a wonderful week so far. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about reasons why I don't recommend wearing your designer handbags to work. Now, keep in mind that this is going to be contingent upon your work environment and workplace, as well as the industry and field that you are working in. If you are working in fashion or a designer brand or another brand that is related to handbags in some way, shape, or form, then this may not be relevant to you. You may be excluded from this, but otherwise, if you are in a corporate setting or any other field aside from fashion or designer goods, then stay tuned for my full list of reasons as to why I would not recommend wearing your designer handbags to work. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So here I have some goodies for you guys to look at while we talk about this very important topic. Now, this is an important topic to me because I work in a corporate environment. And in the corporate environment that I work in, it is highly competitive. Salary ranges from those that are in the upper C-suite caliber range significantly than those that are into upper or mid-level management, which is where I fall in. And because of that, you want to just be cautious with how you present yourself. In most corporate settings, you have to be very mindful of how you present yourself. Impression is very important, and people really do lead with first impressions. I once read that the first impression that you leave, you typically leave within 3 to 5 seconds of immediately meeting someone. And so what you wear and how you wear it is a really important element of how you're presenting yourself and how you are perceived in the work environment. So that for me is one reason why I would be very cautious about the handbag that I am wearing. First impressions are key and they're very important. So for me, I tend to wear a more understated handbag. I will not ever wear my classic flap or these designer logo brands here that you see, my Louis or my Gucci. I have occasionally worn my Goyard St. Louis tote, which you have here in the back, as well as my Louis Vuitton Neverfull. The Louis Vuitton Neverfull was actually my first designer handbag purchase on my own after having my first corporate real big girl job. And I did wear my Neverfull to work quite often. The reason I chose that bag and the reason why I would choose the St. Louis and agree with some of those designer totes is because the price range is a lot lower compared to, say, a classic flap. In addition, it's more of a functional, understated bag in some way, shape, or form. Functional in that it really can be worn to work and it fits multiple items. So if you're working in Manhattan, say, and you need to bring an extra pair of shoes, a change of clothes, or more items with you to work, these are functional and they make sense. In addition, it's great for laptop and other work tools and items that you might need to commute with and bring with you. So it is a little more functional. That said, I would opt for a more understated bag, one preferably without a pattern or logo. So my Goyard tote and my Neverfull, I have excluded those because I have worn those to work in the past, and I will occasionally continue to wear my St. Louis tote to work. But if you are in the corporate setting, I would definitely opt for a more understated option. The next reason why I would not recommend wearing a higher price range designer item to work is because people are constantly looking and observing, and in a competitive environment, they're always looking over their shoulder for who is making more money than them. And some cases I have seen this work against people that are looking to advance or excel in their career. People may not take them as serious or may not see the need as much because the perception that people get is, well, she can afford designer goods. She's doing just fine. She doesn't need any more money. Or she has money to spend on a Chanel classic flap. That bag is X amount of dollars. She doesn't need a raise. She's doing just fine. Or maybe we can forego giving her the bonus this year because clearly she's doing well financially. So you want to be very cautious about putting that type of foot forward. Yes, it is a statement piece and we do invest a lot of money in these bags, but I typically tend to reserve mine for weekend wear or when I'm outside with friends and not in a corporate setting environment. The next reason why I would not recommend wearing your designer purses to work is purely based on wear and tear, right? It's important to take into account the type of setting you're working in. And if you're, say, in healthcare or a corporate environment where things could be easily stolen, damaged, contaminated, or they get dirty, you want to be very cautious of that as well. So I protect my bags. In some cases, I will only reserve them for special occasions or weekend wear, like I said earlier. If I'm going out to dinner with friends or I'm going out shopping with friends, I will reserve those items for those times. The next reason why I would not recommend wearing your designer goods to work is similar to the other reason I stated, where people are constantly looking over their shoulder to see what someone else has. But more importantly, the perception that your boss or the person that you report to directly might have. You want to be very careful about the impression you give to your boss, whether they are male or female. I tend to see this more with female bosses, so you have to be cautious if maybe your female boss might be a little jealous, or it might not sit well that you're able to afford luxury goods or spend your money in this way, and maybe that person doesn't agree with spending money in that way. The fact of the matter is, how and where you spend your money shouldn't matter to anyone except for you. As long as you're responsible and you're paying yourself first and you're taking care of your responsibilities, whether that be a mortgage, rent, car payment, utility bills, or other financial responsibilities, as long as those items are paid for and they come first, what you do with your leftover entertainment money is really not for anyone else's business but yours. However, we know people like to judge. So we want to be very careful about giving people too much opportunity to judge and perhaps have a false impression of us at the first chance that they get. We also don't know what our bosses or other coworkers' financial situation is. They might make a higher salary than you, but they may not be in a financial position where they can spend on luxury goods. And they may therefore either be jealous or upset that you're able to and they are not. So again, that's one reason why I would not recommend wearing your designer goods to work. Theft. You want to be very cautious about your commute to work. And if you're working in a city where you take public transportation or other means of transportation, where you aren't driving your personal vehicle or you don't have a personal person taking you to and from work, you want to be very mindful and cautious of what you're wearing on your arm or on your wrist that could potentially be at risk of calling too much attention and result in theft, particularly if you're taking a train or subway to work. Definitely opt for the more understated option and go incognito versus wearing all of your designer goods out there. The other reason I wouldn't wear designer items to work is when it comes time to a promotion or to ask for a raise. This is something that can be held against you. Some folks may not be in a financial position to be able to afford luxury goods, whether they make a higher salary or not, whether or not they are compensated more than you or not, whether or not they receive a higher base rate pay or commission. When you set yourself up and you decide you want to opt for a promotion or talk about, a financial advancement in work, they may not see that the need is really there. Unfortunately, people in corporate settings tend to be very visual people. So they're constantly looking and perceiving people based on items that they're wearing. And if you are in a position to seek advancement or a promotion, wearing a designer good and flaunting some of your designer items may reflect negatively upon you to a point where you might be passed up for that promotion or consideration for a higher pay rate or salary. The other reason is, base salary aside, in some settings, perhaps you're in sales, there's a commission-based salary or commission-based compensation. And in those cases, if you're perhaps performing better than your counterpart or peer, that may also be something that they might look to be jealous of you. In some cases, you're better off not playing your hand and just remain a little mysterious. You have to play the game of poker in some cases, and you don't want to let everyone know your hand and let everyone know, hey, look at me, I can afford all these luxury goods, look at all the money that I'm able to spend on a handbag. while your peers and counterparts may perhaps not be selling as much or reaping in some of the benefits commission wise that you are. So you want to just be cautious, because that could work against you as well, where you might find peers or colleagues either not willing to help you, being a little jealous or on edge, and not willing to work and collaborate with you in certain instances, simply because they are upset with you because you're able to perform better and reap more benefits than they are. And some of you may or may not agree with this, is the more you wear your designer goods, sometimes the less you appreciate them. I find that I don't wear my classic flap bag often. So I've found that when I do reach for her, she's extra special to me, particularly because I don't wear her very often, and I do reserve her for certain or special occasions. So I tend to enjoy her and appreciate her a little bit more. Whereas my Goyard St. Louis tote, because I have worn this bag for work before, and I do tend to be less worried about what people will think when I wear this bag. I do love this bag and I appreciate it, but she's not as special as, say, the classic flap is. So for that reason, I wouldn't recommend wearing, some of your more higher caliber luxurious items. It's nice to keep them reserved for special occasions and special moments. Some bags purely may not be functional, or there may not be any good reason to wear them to work. So a crossbody, for instance, a mini handbag or crossbody, these are not going to work for me at work, because I do need to carry a lot more than just my essentials. So my essentials for the weekend is very different than my essentials for the weekday. On the weekend, I might be with my kids, running around, doing errands. So I might need to carry either a little bit less or a little bit more, depending on what I'm using it for and what is going on in my day. But typically on the weekends, and if it's just me running errands or doing my typical weekend things, I don't need to have a larger bag than what would fit my keys, my cards, my cash, and that's really it. On the weekday, though, if I'm traveling to work, and some of you may have seen the bag that I actually wear to work, which is my Kuyana everyday tote, and I love that bag. It has no labels, no patterns or full name or anything like that screams luxury. It's just a plain Jane simple black leather bag, and I love it because it's large, it's functional, I can fit my laptop in it, I can throw my notebook in it, and if I'm running in and out of the car, I don't worry about that bag getting messed up or caught in a turnstile or caught in the door or anything like that. Whereas with my more designer expensive bags, I would be a little more cautious of that. And this bag, for instance, as well as these, would not be functional for me in a work setting. I do need to carry a lot more than what just fits in these bags. For instance, a laptop would not be able to fit in this bag, so it would not be functional and would therefore not work for me for work. I would be interested in hearing your thoughts and comments. Do you wear your designer bags to work? If so, which ones? Do you have certain exclusions or certain ones that you would wear, or is it really up for grabs? And if you do wear your designer bags to work, I'm curious, what field or line of work are you in? Is it more relatable to wear a designer bag versus not? And if you don't wear your designer bags, let me know the reasons why. Do you agree with the reasons I stated, or do you opt to not wear designer bags for other reasons I might have missed? Thank you again so much for watching. I'm so glad to have you guys. Please be sure, if you enjoyed this video, to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram and TikTok and subscribe for more. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. Bye.